Then GT, you say that last week I was elaborating about essay writing, and I mentioned starting in the moment, and you wanted me just to go over that, which is why, I'm sorry, I'm just looking for a topic. Okay, right. So I'm looking at essay writing, and I'm imagining that we have planned it. So let's just take this topic. I sat down and really thought about myself. This is what I discovered. So it's I, and I'm meant to be sitting down and thinking about myself. So I'm making myself sort of bend over and look thoughtful. Okay, and then bubbly thoughts. Okay, because you're meant to draw a picture in the middle of your mind map. So once you've planned, and you've planned all your paragraphs and all your ideas, and remember that each line coming off your mind map is a new idea, you need to think about, well, which of these paragraphs am I going to start with? And I want you to begin in the moment. So what I'm saying is you begin with something important that is already happening around you. So I would not begin with the topic. A lot of students start with, I sat down and really thought about myself, and this is what I discovered about myself, and then go into it. I would rather you started with something where you can talk about what is happening. So this was a paper we set for our grade 11s, and a number of them obviously wrote about what they discovered about themselves during COVID. So let us say that this is what's going to be, this paragraph is about, in COVID, I realized that I needed to know my family better. And what I learned about myself is that I really like being, let's say, a sibling and a daughter in my family. I enjoy the relationship with my family. So rather than saying in your opening paragraph, I thought about myself, maybe you could start with something that made you realize this. So maybe you could start with, I don't know, yesterday, my little sister asked me whether or not she could use my makeup, and you talk about how you were explaining to the little sister about the makeup or whatever. Or yesterday, my brother asked me if I could come outside and bowl to him in the garden or whatever. Or yesterday, we were sitting so close together that our knees were touching and whatever. And then you're going to realize, you're going to say, and I realized how much I love little brother, little sister, little what have you. And I realized that without COVID forcing me to spend so much time together, I wouldn't have been aware of that. And then having done that paragraph, you could talk about other members of your family that you've grown close to. So do you see what I mean? You're starting in the moment, and you start with something happening that's important, this moment of communication with somebody, helping to do something or discussing something, or crying about the work and saying, I feel so frustrated and I'm missing my friends. And then granddad says something, or auntie says something, or cousin says something. And you realize that warmth of the immediate people that you're living with. And then you can say, and that made me suddenly realize, this is what happened last week, and that's what happened over there, and that's whatever. And so this is what I've learned about myself, is that my identity is shaped very firmly by the people I'm close to. Do you see what I mean? That's what I mean by begin in the moment. You begin with something happening, and then you build to something, rather than beginning, it was a sunny Saturday morning. Okay, so Am I my brother's keeper? The idea that you are responsible for your brother. Okay, so again, you'd start thinking about something. All right, so if we're going to do the brother's keeper. So you, again, let's just say that this is one paragraph over here, and you realize that, I don't know, when let's say you are about 8 years old and your brother is 6, and you start to become aware that every time somebody gives you a cookie, a biscuit, a sweet, you say, thank you. Okay, so it's the thank you very much, and one for my brother. Okay, right, so maybe you realize, oh, with this essay, I want to begin with that. So there's your topic, am I my brother's keeper? Topic number 3, am I my brother's keeper? And you start with, thank you very much, Auntie Pauline, and one for my brother. And you're beginning with that dialogue. You leave a line open, and now you work on, that I felt responsible for my brother from at least the time that I was 8, and had to make sure that if I was given anything, there was always one that I could take back to him. And then you go on about how you feel about being your brother's keeper. Has it been okay? Has it not been okay? And you could go right, you could say it isn't so much keeper anymore as, somebody that you turn to for advice or something like that. Your brother could still phone you and say, hey, bro, I've hit this problem. What do you think I should do? And say that I'm no longer my brother's keeper, but we have a close relationship and we share things. Are you with me? So do you see as well, I always tap into my own experience, something from a student, something at the back of my mind when I was doing the little brother. I was thinking about an essay written by one of my students many years ago about a little sister. So that was at the back of my mind, and I was tapping into that experience. And the thing about, and one for my brother, that was my eldest son, always. Thank you very much. And one for my brother, so I'm going into that. So you use your experience, what you've heard, what you've read, but as real as you can make it. So not just what you've read, so that you're repeating something that everybody else has read and everybody said a million times, or a TV program. That's not what you're doing. You're trying to tap into your own experience, because that's what makes it unique. Remember, these topics are set for the whole country. So when the examiners set them, they're saying we need to set for the 18 to 25 age range and slightly younger and maybe a whole lot older. We've got to set very broad things. Am I my brother's keeper? And then you can relate it to your experience so that it's broad enough that lots of people can relate to it, but then they can narrow it right down to their own experience. And what I mean by beginning in the moment doesn't necessarily have to be this, where I've got dialogue going on. And please don't use direct speech if you don't know how to write it and punctuate it. Remember, if you have more than one person speaking, the first person speaks, you must then leave a whole line open before the next person speaks, because each new speaker is a new paragraph. And if you don't know that and you put it all crunched up together, there's going to be some irritation from the markers. So please make sure that you watch that. But that's what I mean by begin in the moment. Begin with something important happening. Don't begin the day before or first thing in the morning, unless that's what's important. It's the same thing about moving in time and space. I hope that's kind of answered that.